Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Animagma. I'm SolsetLava, and this is where I talk about old school Japanese animation. When you hear the name Sanrio, probably the first thing that comes to mind is the Japanese company behind one of the world's most beloved mascot characters, Hello Kitty, who's adorned fashion accessories, school supplies, and various lifestyle memorabilia since the mid-1970s. But did you know that Sanrio has also been involved in anime production? In particular, from the late 1970s into the mid-1980s, they produced a number of feature-length animated films via their Sanrio Films label. Some of you older viewers who were children in the 1980s might be familiar with the Unico films, which revolved around the charming yet also haunting adventures of a small, good-hearted unicorn who was originally created by Osamu Tezuka, the legendary manga artist and animation director. I actually remember seeing the Unico films when I was young, and the various characters and scenes in Sanrio's movies left a permanent mark on my childhood memory. I recently had a chance to sit down and watch one of the earlier and somewhat lesser-known titles in the Sanrio Films catalog, completely unaware at the time that it was even a Sanrio film in the first place. Sea Prince and the Fire Child, originally known as Shiryu no Densetsu, which translates to The Legend of Sirius, originally released in 1981 and was based on a story written by Shintaro Tsuji, surprisingly, the founder of the Sanrio company. Now, right off the bat, I want to express something important up front. I was in complete awe and wonder at this movie as I was watching through it, not just because of how incredible of a film it is, and it is a fantastic movie that I would recommend everyone to see, but also because I think I had actually seen it before, or parts of it at least, way back when I was a small kid and I had just forgotten about it over the years as I grew up. There are a few things in life that are as pleasantly surprising as revisiting a forgotten memory, and although that might have improved my experience a lot while watching this movie, I can safely say that on its own merits, Sea Prince and the Fire Child is an animated classic of the best kind, one that's both delightful and meaningful for children and adults alike. The story revolves around Sirius, a sprightly, good-hearted, and adventuresome young prince who's also the son of the Sea King, Oceanus, a frightening but regal master of all the world's oceans. Although Sirius has free reign of the sea and spends much of his time practicing swordplay in order to defend against the jellyfish that trouble his kingdom, there are certain dark and forbidden waters that, by royal decree, all the sea's creatures aren't allowed to trespass. One day, while chasing a jellyfish, Sirius wanders into one such forbidden area. As he makes his way through the dark waters, he suddenly sees a bright light, and upon reaching the water's surface, he finds himself in a cave with a mysterious hovering flame, and nearby a beautiful sprite who appears to be protecting it. This young girl, Malta, is a fire child, and the daughter of Hyperia, the goddess of fire. The children of fire and the children of water are vicious enemies, but the curiosity of Sirius and Malta gets the better of them as they talk to each other and, eventually, fall in love. The film follows their story as they fight for the sake of their love against the bitter hatred that divides their kingdoms. There is so much to love about this film. First and foremost, the sense of legend in this movie is fantastic. It feels like the best kind of fairy tale brought to life through animation, and the presentation of the movie does a lot to bolster a wonderful sense of fantasy and myth. The backgrounds give an incredible sense of presence, immensity, and atmosphere that oftentimes left my jaw hanging in awe at the incredible design work on display. And the animation in this movie is surprisingly good, with breathtaking moments of stunning visual sequences in some of the more epic scenes throughout the film. When you consider that this was made in the early 1980s at a time before computer graphics were used in animated films and everything was hand-drawn and painted, it's amazing what they were able to accomplish while still telling an engaging story to boot. The technical skill, I think, is on par with some of the best hand-drawn animation even today, and it's incredible to think of what they were able to achieve with such limited technology almost 4 decades ago. In particular, though, the story is very sincere to its characters and has faith that young children can deal with emotionally affecting plot lines. I was surprised at how often I was almost brought to tears by some of the movie's more tragic moments, and the investment I had in the different characters throughout the film was a welcome revelation. I was also impressed by the movie's incredible sense of pacing. Scenes, characterizations, and story beats were all established and moved forward incredibly well, and I was struck by how seamlessly the story was told overall. One thing that really helped the movie, though, was an incredibly moving orchestral score created by one of the great composers of our time, Koichi Sugiyama, who's actually best known for his work on the Dragon Quest video game series, which I'm a fan of. The music in the movie brought a lot of atmosphere and emotion to the scenes and made my heart leap with its power and beauty. As I was watching the movie, I couldn't help but be reminded of Sugiyama's music, and it was a pleasant surprise to later learn that he had done the compositions for the film. It's a testament to his craftsmanship that he's able to make such grandiose and beautiful music regardless of the format. Sea Prince and the Fire Child released during a time that was a bit earlier in Japan's animation industry, and so the influence of Western animation, particularly Disney, is fairly present throughout the film, such as characters like Sirius and Piale possibly being inspired by Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Now, the movie maybe isn't as lushly realized as many of the Disney classics, but at least some of the more cartoony elements are toned down to better lend to the mythical story that the filmmakers were aiming for. Speaking of Disney, I did wonder if Sea Prince and the Fire Child might itself have had an influence on the 90s Disney classic, The Little Mermaid, seeing as they're both films about a red-headed royal heir of an ocean kingdom shirking responsibility for the sake of a forbidden love. You never know. Finally, as a word of caution to more traditional parents, there are some aspects to this movie that you might want to preview before letting your children watch. Besides the aforementioned tragic moments, there's a little bit of potential squickiness with the character relationships, depending on how you look at it, though I personally didn't have a problem with anything. There's also a bit of mild sort of nudity towards the end of the film, so it's something to keep in mind. Overall, I think Sea Prince and the Fire Child is a classic of old school animation, and I very much recommend it. Thankfully, it's not that hard to find. Discotek, an old school anime publisher, actually released this DVD just a few years ago, and you should be able to find it on Amazon for a good price. Also, if streaming is more your jam, both the dubbed and subtitled versions are available for viewing on Crunchyroll, and I'll leave a link in the description below. I personally watched through the dubbed version since I felt it better matched the high fantasy style story, and I think it's very good and definitely does the film justice. I'm looking forward to watching the sub version in the near future too, if I can find the time. And those are all my thoughts on Sea Prince and the Fire Child. Have you seen this movie? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? Do you have any childhood memories of it? And are you a fan of the classic Sanrio Films library? Leave your comments below. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Animagma. If you liked this episode, feel free to hit that like button. And if you really like this episode and haven't done so already, feel free to hit that subscribe button too. That's all for now. You guys take care. I hope you all have a good one, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.